Bringing you the IM362 Extra Practice number 6 solutions on multiplying and dividing rational expressions. There is a puzzle that goes with this one. Let's go check it out. For our extra practice puzzle, we are trying to solve the riddle, what happens when the smog lifts in Los Angeles, California? To do this, we need to simplify these expressions, which are some combination of multiplication and division of rational expressions. And once we figure out the correct answer, we need to find that down below here and cross off the letter that's above it. And then whatever's left over, when we're done with all 6 of these, we'll spell out the answer to our riddle. So let's give it a shot. So here we go with problem number 1. Now, one thing you might have noticed about all these questions is they're a little bit intense. Most of them have 3 terms at least in them, but there are only 6 of them. So our strategy on all these is going to be more or less the same. First off, if there's any division, we're going to turn it into multiplication. Here we don't have any division, so we don't have to worry about that. And then we're just going to factor everything we can and cancel and reduce everything we can before multiplying. So just to be clear, we are not going to start by multiplying everything together. That would just be a mess. So going through here and seeing what I can factor, the 9x and the 3x to the 4th, I can just leave those where they are. But for everything else, the x squared minus 25, that's 2 perfect squares with a minus, so I can square root that and do a plus minus parentheses. So x plus 5 and x minus 5. Next up, x squared plus 5x, I can factor an x out of those. That's going to leave me with x plus 5. And for 2x minus 4, I can take a 2 out of those. That leaves me with an x minus 2. And finally, in the upper right here, factors of negative 10 that add up to 3. 1 and 10 doesn't work, but negative 2 and 5 would do it. So x minus 2 and x plus 5. All right, let's go back to the beginning and see what we can reduce. So the 9 and the 3, those can definitely reduce to 3 over 1. For the x's and the x to the 4th here, there's actually 2 of these x's, so I'm going to reduce both of them together with this x to the 4th. If there's 2 up here and 4 down here, that means there's 2 left over when I reduce those. So 2 left in the denominator. Next up, this x plus 5 and this x plus 5 can cancel out. Or this x plus 5, I guess it doesn't really matter which one. The x minus 5 is going to have to stay. There's nothing for that. The x minus 2, however, can cancel out this x minus 2. And is there anything else that we haven't crossed off? I think that's it. So going through then, we have 3 and x plus 5 in the numerator. And then we have an x minus 5, a 2, and an x squared. So 2x squared parentheses x minus 5 in the denominator. And where do I see all that with my answer choices? Looks like it's right here under R, so let's cross that off, and it's on to the next. For number 2, this one's a little different than the last one because we have division going on here. So before I do any kind of factoring, I'm going to first multiply by the reciprocal for this last fraction, same change flip. So the first 2 fractions staying the same, this last one turning that upside down. It looks kind of the same, but notice that I now have my negative 3x up top instead of on the bottom, along with this 28. All right, let's go through and factor what we can. The x plus 4 can stay the way it is, but down below here I can take a 2x out of those. That leaves me with x minus 7. For this next one in the middle, I can take an x squared out of that. That leaves me with an x plus 4. And then for 3x minus 24, take a 3 out of there. Leaves me with an x minus 8. Now these ones are going to require a little more factoring. Factors of negative 28 that add up to negative 3. 1 and 28 doesn't work. 2 and 14 doesn't work. 4 and 7 works. Positive 4 and negative 7. So x plus 4, x minus 7. And then down here, this is a perfect square sandwich. So I can actually just square root the x squared in the 16 and stick it in a squared parentheses with the sign of the middle term here. So I'll have an x, and the square root of 16 is 4. We have a plus middle term, so positive 4 squared. If I multiply these together and double it, I do get 8x, so that works. And now it's time to go through and cancel out what we can. Let's start with the x plus 4. So this x plus 4 and this x plus 4 together can completely cancel out this x plus 4 squared down here. So that's really nice. Now, let's see here. This 2, there's nothing I can do with that, but this x and this x squared can reduce. That leaves me with an x to the first in the numerator. X minus 7 and this x minus 7 can cancel. And this 3, there isn't really anything I can do there. This x we already took care of. X minus 8, no matches there. So cleaning up what we've got left here, in the numerator we have an x and an x plus 4. In the denominator we have a 2 times a 3 gives us a 6 along with this x minus 8. So x plus 4 over 6 parentheses x minus 8. I see that over here at the very beginning, so let's cross off that a. All right, here's number 3. This one is a little bit of a beast. Again, I've got some division going on, so I'm going to turn that into multiplication. Now, when I do this, I'm not going to rewrite this whole thing and just flip this thing without doing any changes, because I'm going to run out of space. So we're going to understand that I'm flipping this last fraction, but we're not going to see all of it until I've actually factored stuff out. So I'm going to flip and factor at the same time. So we've got these first two that I'm going to factor in a minute, and this 8x to the 5th y is coming upstairs, and whatever this 2x squared business factors into, I'm going to put that downstairs on this last one. So going through and factoring, this first one in the upper left, this is a difference of 2 squares. I can square root these and use a plus minus parentheses. Square root of 4x squared is 2x. Square root of y squared is y. So 2x plus y and 2x minus y there. For the lower left, I can factor out an x and a y. That leaves me with just an x for that first term. And this next term, if I divide by xy, I'm just left with a minus y there. Up here now, I can take out an x. Leaves me with x plus y. And then for this one, I can take out a 4. Leaves me with 2x plus y. And now we come to this 2x squared business. I can't take out any common factor. I'm going to have to use the AC method on this one. So 2 times 3 gives me an AC that I'll do up here of 6. So I'm looking for factors of 6 that add up to negative 7. And let's see, there's really only one possibility, 1 and 6, that's going to do this. So if I have a negative 1 and a negative 6, so I'll split this negative 7xy up into a negative 1xy and a negative 6xy. Now that I've got 4 terms, I can use factoring by grouping. For my first 2 terms, I can take out an x. That leaves me with a 2x minus y. For the next 2, I can take out a negative 3y, because they both have a y, leaving me with, again, 2x. And this will be a negative y, yep. And then I can take out a 2x minus y from everything, leaving me with an x minus 3y from my other parentheses, which I will now put down here. All right, everything is factored. Let's go through and cross things off. This is my favorite part. So 2x plus y, that can cancel with the 2x plus y down here. 2x minus y, that cancels over here, so that's really nice. For the x, y, these x's, I'll just cancel this and this x out completely. This y and this y cancel out completely. That's nice. X minus y and x plus y do not cancel. Those are too different to cancel out. And this x minus 3y doesn't have anything that goes with it. However, the 4 and the 8 can reduce at least to give us a 2 over 1. So picking up the pieces, in the numerator, I have a 2, an x to the 5th, and an x plus y. In the denominator, I have an x minus y and an x minus 3y, and that's it. So 2x to the 5th and all the rest of that crazy stuff. I see that over here at the end, so I'll cross off this y. For this next problem, this is kind of unique. The division that we saw on the last 2 problems that was at the end is now happening in the middle. So we are going to same change flip for our first step. We're just going to have to be careful that we only flip this middle fraction and none of the others. So it's only the things that are being divided that need to have the reciprocal done. So the middle now we're going to have 6x squared plus 15x over all that other 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 stuff. So now let's go through and factor what we can. The 2x minus 5 cubed, don't really need to do much with that. However, this 3 minus x, I'm actually going to take a negative 1 out of that so I can write it as x minus 3. And that's going to match up some things hopefully later on. For this 6x squared business, I can take a 3x out of that. That leaves me with a 2x plus 5. Now for 2x squared minus 3x minus 5, I can't take out a common factor, so I'm going to use the AC method on that. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. I need now factors of negative 10 that add up to this negative 3 here. Well, 1 and 10 doesn't work, but 2 and 5 does. If I have positive 2 and negative 5. So I will split this negative 3x up into a plus 2x minus 5x. Now that I have 4 terms, let me use some grouping. I can take a 2x out of the first 2 terms. That leaves me with an x and a plus 1. I can take a negative 5 out of the last 2, which is pretty convenient. That leaves me also with an x plus 1. So x plus 1 is my common factor that I can take out, and then 2x minus 5 goes back in, and I put all of that stuff down here in this fraction. Next up, this upper right here, I need factors of negative 3 that add up to negative 2. That would be positive 1 and negative 3, so x plus 1, x minus 3. And now this 4x squared minus 25, I feel like I saw this pretty recently on a previous problem we did. We can use the plus minus shortcut on this one. Square rooting these gives me a 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 5. And now it's time to do some canceling. This 2x minus 5 cubed, I can reduce that with this 2x minus 5 and this 2x minus 5 here. So we've kind of got a three-way reduction going on. That leaves me with one of these 2x minus 5 still in the numerator. Next, this negative 1 can stay the way it is. X minus 3 can cancel with the 1 over here. Can this 3x reduce with anything? Doesn't look like it. But this 2x plus 5 can reduce with this 2x plus 5. And this x plus 1 and this x plus 1 can reduce. So we're getting all sorts of things canceling, which is really great. What's left over now? We have a negative 1 here. That makes the whole fraction that we end up with negative. In the numerator, we have a 3x and a 2x minus 5. In the denominator, we have nothing except an invisible 1. So this is our final answer, negative 3x parentheses 2x minus 5. And I can spot that pretty quickly. That's right here. Got to be careful because this L1 looks kind of similar, but it's really S that we're going to cross off here. So just be careful reading that. For our next battle here, we have not 1 but 2 divisions going on. So I'm going to have to same change flip twice here. This middle fraction needs to be inverted, and this last fraction also needs to be flipped upside down. So first fraction stays the same. Flip the second fraction and make it multiplication. Flip the third fraction, make it multiplication. Let's factor what we can now. The only thing that we don't need to really factor is this 9x to the 9xy cubed. Everything else I need to break down. This x to the 4th minus y to the 4th. I'm going to do this all in one step, but I could really take 2 steps here. This is a difference of squares, actually. I could use my plus minus square root shortcut. That would give me x squared plus y squared, the square root of those things, and also x squared minus y squared. However, x squared minus y squared is itself going to be split up into x plus y and x minus y. So double split going on in one step there. Hopefully that didn't do too much at once. Now for our lower left, I can take out a common factor of 3 and x and y. They both have at least one of all those. That leaves me with just x for my first term and just minus y for that second term. Next up, this bottom middle fraction part, denominator. This one is a perfect square sandwich. I can square root those with a squared parentheses. So x plus, because we have a positive middle term, plus y, quantity squared. And if I multiply xy together and double it, I do get 2xy, so that's good. For the upper right now, I can take out just a y squared, nothing else. leaves me with x plus y. And down below here, I can take out a 4, leaving me with x squared plus y squared. What cancels? The x squared plus y squareds cancel. The x plus y here and over here, those both combine to completely cancel out this x plus y quantity squared. So that is super. This x minus y cancels with this x minus y. Wow, 3 in a row. This is pretty cool. Can we keep getting some more here? The 3 and the 9 can reduce. That's 3 over 1. These two x's can cancel. The y and the y cubed can reduce, giving me a y squared in the numerator. Kind of hard to see, though, with that light coloring, but that's a 2 there. And now I think that is it, but I mean, that was a lot. So multiplying what we have left over, in the numerator, I have a 3, a y squared, and another y squared. That multiplies out to 3y to the 4. In the denominator, this is all gone, this is gone. All that's left is this 4 down here. So this craziness got simplified to 3y to the 4th over 4. I mean, you've got to feel a sense of accomplishment after doing that. And that is going to be this O right here that I'm going to cross off. So now it's finally on to the last problem. All right, now this one is truly worthy of final boss battle music if I had any. This is a lot. This is a bit much here. We have division by a parentheses, which itself has some division going on. So before we even think about flipping anything, we're going to want to at least express everything inside this parentheses with multiplication, and then we can flip it all at once to take care of this division. So that's kind of our long-term game plan. One thing I'm also going to be doing on my first step is I'm going to start factoring this stuff out here. So I'm going to be combining a lot of steps because otherwise I'm not going to have enough room to fit all of this. So the 75x squared minus 12, I can take out a common factor there of 3. If I do that, that leaves me with 25x squared minus 4. And you might recognize these are both perfect squares, so that can get factored a little bit further on our next step. Now for the stuff inside this parentheses. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of this second fraction inside here. So same change, flip, and now you'll notice this x minus 5 is in the denominator instead of the numerator. So that's the only change I've made so far. The next thing I'm going to do, though, is start factoring everything by taking out common factors. For this 35 minus business, I'm going to take a negative 1 out of all that so that I can reverse the order and make it something a little easier to factor. So that's a positive x squared plus 2x minus 35. For x squared plus 7x, I can take out an x. That leaves me with x plus 7. And then for 5x cubed plus 2x squared, and that's up here now, remember, I'm taking out an x squared. That leaves me with a 5x plus 2. For my next step, I'm going to factor the first term a little bit more. I've still got that 3, and by the way, I'm going to write all this as a big fraction over 1, just to kind of have the same formatting as everything else here and make it easier to look at. So I've got the 3 that I took out here, and using my square root plus minus shortcut, square root of 25x squared is 5x, square root of 4 is 2, so 5x plus 2, 5x minus 2. Next up, same change flip, I'm going to flip both of the fractions in this parentheses, because if I wanted to, I could put this all in one big numerator and denominator, and then division would flip it anyway. So we've got this x parentheses x plus 7 is now in the numerator, and this negative 1 business is in the denominator. Now, while I'm doing this step, I'm also going to factor the stuff inside here a little bit more. So factors of negative 35 that add up to 2, that would be negative 5 and positive 7. So x minus 5, x plus 7. And then I also had to flip this last fraction, remember. So I have x minus 5 upstairs again, and now x squared plus 5x plus, or parentheses 5x plus 2 is down there. Okay, well that was a lot, but let me see what I can cancel out here. So this 3 doesn't look like that reduces with anything. 5x plus 2 reduces with this one over here. 5x minus 2, not so much. The x here can reduce with this x squared. That leaves me with an x to the first down there. X plus 7s can cancel, that's nice. X minus 5s can cancel, also very nice. And I believe that is it. So taking stock of what we have, this negative kind of hidden in here is eventually going to make this whole fraction negative, so I'll put that out in front. We also have a 3 and a 5x minus 2 that I can put upstairs. And in the denominator, all I have left is this x. That's it. So finding that in my answers here, I see that over here under B, so let's cross that off. Alrighty, now that I've got everything crossed off that I can, it's time to solve the puzzle. What happens when the smog lifts in Los Angeles, California? Well, what's left here? UCLA. Oh, I get it. UCLA, as in like you can see Los Angeles, or University of California, Los Angeles. All right, very funny. Till next time, Mr. Sutton signing off. California dreaming all the way.